second one, whereby it's talking about tackling knife and gun crime in our community. Let it not be our legacy. And I've got Mr. Stefan Gislaine. Stefan, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Well, Stefan, we had the first one on June the 30th.
Yes.
Explain a bit, what is the SOS?
The SOS is pretty much a platform where we focus more on solutions, what we can bring into communities to find how we can better the education system and also all kind of different departments we can actually influence. And the last summit we had, we really, I think, hit on the real issues. We had safe and side, we came with the low perspectives. Yes. It was very concrete, very substantial. We had the former Superintendent Police Officer Commander, yes, Leroy Logan, who gave us a little bit of the understanding of the police, what the police is doing, and the type of implementation they thinking of bringing on board. Yes. But what I really like about the last summit was about the fact that the audience was engaging with us. Yes. We spoke to them. They actually spoke to us. They gave us stuff that we needed to hear in terms of solutions. And we put it down. We had a board out there that we gave them the type of solutions that they wanted us to have. And we're thinking now, what can we do to implement them so that we can bring a change? So I think that this one now is another opportunity that we have to actually keep on pressing on this issue we've been having for the past couple of, let's say, year. And we can see youngsters unleashed. We don't know what is wrong with them. We know what is going on. And a lot of people say the government is not doing enough, but we also have to look at in terms of community. What are we doing to help?
And so you're talking a bit more like taking control.
Taking control, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And that is why I like the fact that we got the King Peace Treaty because come on board. We also have one team of Paul Mackenzie, who's also doing a fantastic work, where we have also religious people or pastors who actually want to get involved into, because we've been praying for church, what the church is doing, and we actually can see that the church is actually getting concerned. Yes. They want to be part of this movement. But we just not talking about just the black communities, it's also within the UK itself, because we also see the white community is also going for it. We also see the Asian community is also going for it. But it is true, the black community is the one that is more affected by it. Yes. And we have a lot of factors that we have to look at. And I think this summit is going to be able to address these issues and come up with the solutions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stefan.
No problem.
And we've got various guests which are going to be coming on during the course of the day. But first of all, I want to introduce our first guest. And Stefan, when Yisrael Emmanuel comes up, you'll give him the mic. Yisrael Emmanuel talks about the King Peace Treaty. You have heard about the issue regarding postcodes, I found it very interesting talking about postcodes the other day with a pastor person. And he said that the gangs have taken the biblical principle and actually claimed territories, postcodes. And even within the postcode zones, they have churches. And we found it very interesting. But Yisrael Emmanuel, we're going to invite to come up now, is going to talk about the King's Peace Treaty. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Good to see you.
Greetings, everybody. It's a lovely day. Give thanks and praises to the Most High. Yeah. My name is Israel Emmanuel. And I've written this thing called the King's Peace Treaty. How the King's Peace Treaty came about was, I don't know if you remember, about 2 years ago, there was Philando Castile and Alton Sterling. They got killed by the police in America. One of them was with with his girlfriend and his children, and the other one was with, I think he was selling cassettes or something like that. And then obviously the killing of Mark Duggan, and I got my brethren Roger Sylvester that got killed by the police. These things kind of geared me to think, how come as a nation we always make people want to just violate us and we just stand up and we don't do nothing about it? So something came out, I said, you know what? I want to do something about this, to tell the honest truth, because if we don't do something about it, it's going to keep on happening like it's normal, and our children are going to grow up and see that these things are happening to us, and it's like it's just a normal occurrence. This is allowed to happen to us. So then what happened? I realized to myself, even if I did something, yeah, my own black brother would kill me. You get what I'm saying? My own black brother from where I come from in Tottenham, my own black brother could come and kill me. My mum would have to bury me. My family would have to bury me. And it's nothing. You get what I'm saying? So as a people, we look at like these kind of things like it's nothing. And I thought, nah, that's mad. So what I did now, I must have went on social media. I said, you know what? Tottenham man need to link up. Hackney man need to link up. Brixton man need to link up. Stonebridge man need to link up. Man from Tivoli Garden need to link up. Man from Rima, man from Jungle, man from Brooklyn, man from New York, man from Baltimore. We all need to link up. We should have a treaty. And when I said it, the love that I got back was mad. Everyone saying, yeah, that's a good idea. If we all linked up, how would that look? That would be brilliant. And then I said, rah, we need a treaty. But there wasn't no treaty. So I said, if I don't write the treaty, there's not going to be a treaty. So I wrote the treaty. And then from I wrote the treaty now, that blew up another level. People are feeling the treaty. No matter where I go, I get love with the treaty. The youths them love the treaty, but how are we going to make the treaty work? So I'm going to read the treaty. The King's Peace Treaty. I will never put no European geographical landmark before my brother. When anyone comes as a stranger from a neighboring area, I will embrace him and treat him like a king. I will not go in any man's area and promote violence in protest to promote my area. When I see a black man on the street, I will hail and acknowledge him in respect of the suffering we and our ancestors have faced for centuries. I will look at no black man as less than a king. I will look at no black woman as less than a queen, because the black woman is the mother of all civilization and we must protect her. I will link up with every man from every ends to build my people and to build a better earth for our future generations. So that was a treaty. So I put the treaty out, and like I'm getting mad love about the treaty. So I'm just gonna like one word that I realized that kind of got to me, like us as a people, it's like we don't respect each other. Like all right, what happened to me? I was on an estate, yeah, and I was talking to one youth, and I was going to him because what I do, I speak to people and I ask them how they think it could work, because I haven't got all the answers, innit? So I asked them how I think it could work. So I said, bruv, how do you think we could link up and become one? He goes, bruv, I don't even know if that can happen, you know. Then he gave me a scenario. He goes, if I was sitting on a bus, because this brother, when you see him, the man tonks, muscles, and you can see that he's a man that can defend himself differently. So when I'm speaking to him, he said to me, if I was to sit on a bus, I'll sit on a bus, and any other race, like a white man could sit next to me, I don't feel no way. An Indian man could sit next to me, I don't feel no way. A Turkish man could sit next to me, I don't feel no way. But as soon as a black man sits next to me, the whole of my insides rise up. How am I going to deal with this brother? If this brother look at me funny, how am I going to deal with him? And that was one of the things that I realized. As a people, there's a level of contempt and disrespect for our one another. We respect every other nation in a kind of sense, but our own nation, we will fight. Like you can bounce a black man, and he's ready to war with you. A next nation man bounce you can accept that. Why is that? That's a question I'm throwing out, because I don't want to be the one to be talking all the time. I'm throwing out that question. Why is that?
Okay.
Personally, you know me, I can't answer that question, right? But I know, I used to run a mentoring group for boys, and what they used to say to me is, if they're walking down the road, and the next black youth is walking towards them, right? They feel this tension until the black youth walk past them, right? Being in mind, we're the same color, same race, so I could never understand this, and even the boys in the group couldn't understand this as well. There's a tension. And I don't know why. Because when I was growing up, that never happened. All right, we used to go into youth group, whatever. It might be the odd fight, and it might hit with like a pool stick, whatever. But there's never any tension, you know. But sometime again, it's us, you know. Because I remember once I was walking on Tottenham Court Road, and a black man walked towards me. I said hello. And the first thing I did was I put a defense. Like, who are you? Do I know you? Right. And he said, look, we are brothers. Right. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. We're the same people. So even I, as a big man, had this tension. right? And I don't know why, but I talked to him for about 5 minutes, and he explained himself to me well. If all of us walk down the road and say hi to our brothers and sisters, then there wouldn't be this tension. But I don't know why the young youth nowadays, I don't know what the answer is. Why the young youth, they got this tension. You know what I mean? So that's all I got to say, really.
Yeah, thanks for the input, and that's what I see as well. I see, like, with our own, yeah, there's a level of like, all right, it's like as well, we got a thing. I stand to be corrected as well, yeah. Like, if there's a man in our community and he's got money, we respect him more than a youth that doesn't have money. So, like, for instance, where a problem is on the streets today, yeah, the men them that might be making the money and they might be making money illegal, these are the people that the youths might respect and look up to. That's a problem. Because that is where us as a people now, courts, police, and all these people now can come and take advantage of us because, and don't get me wrong, I'm coming from the streets. I'm coming from deep in the streets. When I'm talking from a place where I know. You understand? I was a youth that I used to get arrested every week. Every single week, my mum as a youth had to come police station to take me out of the police station. You understand what I'm saying? And I know how these youths think when they see an older and as they see an older man and he's making enough money, they will look to that man and think, right, you know what, I want to be like that. You understand what I'm saying? And these are the kind of things that are crippling our community.
So tell me now, Stephen, regarding the peace treaty,
yeah,
and like these postcode, I said earlier that the youths have somewhat claimed these postcodes. Now, how can the postcodes distinction be demoralized or if anything be destroyed?
One of the ways I think it can get demoralized is if us as I think black men, elder men, come together and start building. Like, for instance, I was talking to the man from Victoria Mutual, and he was saying that they're investing in people that are building their own, like you know, like when you see a lot of these people, and when you're driving around, you're seeing a lot of these constructions and they're building these new buildings. These are the things that us as elders, as big men, we need to come together and build these things so the youths then will see, rah, big men are doing something constructive. Because individually, we can't make it. As a collective, we can make it. So these are the ways that I can see, like, the postcode thing. Because none of the youths them are actually, none of the youths them own the postcodes that they claim to be in.
Oh, you mean that they don't own anything?
They don't own anything
within this postcode?
Yeah. So if we become owners, then they would understand what it means to own things, and they would respect the thing different. Until we start owning things, these postcodes are going to be the things that these youths are going to be always thinking that they control. You get what I mean?
Okay. Well, good. Any last word that you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, there is some last words. If I be honest, yeah, I don't know. This gentleman here,
Mr. Curran. Yes.
Yeah, big man. When man's talking, bruv, you have to pay attention because these things are very, very serious, bro. This is what I'm saying about us. We have to learn how to respect each other. You understand what I'm saying? The respect. You see, as black people, if we don't learn how to respect each other, these are where violations come in. Because a man feels like he's been violated and a man's going to act on the violation. A man feels that violation, like that violation stays there. You get what I'm saying? We don't violate. We don't act any kind of other funny way with any other nation. We behave ourselves around every other nation. But when it comes to our own people, bruv, we act up. Yeah? Everyone is important, whether big or small. Look, the white man ain't no more important. No white man ain't no more important than Selborne right here. Or any youth that you see on the road. We have to respect the thing, fam. 100%. Because everybody out here is important. Everybody, doesn't matter who you are, we're all important. And the last thing I want to say is, you see how is value and respect, coming back to that point. You see, us as a people, if we start to learn how to value and respect each other, if a youth's blood gets shed, yeah, The whole of our community should turn our back on the person that shed that person's blood. I don't care whether you come from TG, you're the baddest man in Rema, Jungle, you come from New York, you come from Tottenham, Brixton, you're the baddest man, I do not care. You shed a youth's blood, everybody in the community turn their back on that youth. Because the blood that is shed on the floors, if we don't respect ourselves, no nation on the planet or the earth is going to respect us. And because we disrespect each other, that's why people can come in and feel like they can disrespect us.
Stefan, Israel, you keep mentioning the word disrespect. And when you watch some of the videos out there with the young people at times, they talk about their picture going on Snapchat and they're feeling disrespect. So it seems like disrespect is something which is a crucial thing.
It's a big thing with the youths. You see this disrespect thing, the least disrespect you can get shot. Least disrespect is going to bring an argument. A little simple little thing, like even, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm speaking and my man's looking out the window and them kind of things. I'm going to be totally honest with you. If I feel like you're disrespecting me, I'm going to hold that disrespect and feel it for a long time. I'm going to see you again. And then something's going to happen. I'm going to think, rah, who's this man feel like he's violating? And then before you know it, there's an argument. And that argument turns into something that's bigger than it should be, and it's just a little, and this is us as a people, that there's that level of insecurity.
But can I say this then? But maybe each person owns the whole aspect of disrespect, because one can deem to feel disrespect when actually one is not being disrespected, and then as a result of that, the person who feels being violated weren't even violated in the first place. So therefore, isn't that the responsibility then is upon each individual to actually diffuse the situation?
Yeah. All right, then. I don't know if I'm answering the question properly,
yes,
but I feel like if a man's disrespected somebody, you see that there's a deep down feeling that every human being, you see, like when someone respects you, you feel it. You see, when someone doesn't respect you, you feel it. This is how the Almighty has made us as human beings. Yes. Bruv, we've been disrespected by, how can I say it? We've been disrespected by, for instance, England, where they've come to our countries, robbed us, stole us, robbed our gold and robbed our silver and all these kind of things. We take it. You get what I'm saying? But when it comes to our own people, we don't take no disrespect, bruv. I don't think that's right.
Okay. All right. Well, Israel, I want to thank you so much. And
Thank you.
on that point there, very crucial what you said, and regarding the King Peace Treaty.
Peace Treaty.
So where can people find the King Peace Treaty?
We're on the Instagram, the King's Peace Treaty, and Facebook, King's Peace Treaty. But we're gonna be we've got Saturday and Sunday schools that we're working on. King's Peace Treaty School of Force. So look out for that. My brethren, I don't know if he's about. Can I just quickly just show him my brethren's book? One second. My brethren Chris Sibia has got a book called The Product of My Environment. Yes. Yeah, this is we're all one. We're just building and building and building. So yeah, we're just trying to build that here.
Okay, fantastic. Well, sir,
thank you for your time, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was Yisrael Emmanuel talking about the King Peace Treaty, and you can get his books and his T-shirt as well, as much as possible. Now, there's also another aspect of the whole thing regarding knife and gun crime. There is the judicial process where people actually go to court. And as a result of that, they have got to be defended, because each person, guilty or not guilty, at the end of the day, they are presumed to be innocent. Am I correct? Yes? So therefore, I'm going to invite Mr. Stephen Akinsanya, who is a barrister, who is going to talk to us now about some of the intricacies and the issues that these young children go through. And I'm going to say young children. And I welcome Mr. Stephen Akinsanya. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah. Stephen, how are you?
Very well, Silban.
Well,
bit hot, but well.
Hot, but well, yeah. Well, you know, we've got to try to bring a bit of Jamaica in the atmosphere. You've been to Jamaica, have you?
Of course.
You've been to Jamaica?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome,
sure.
awesome. So, Stephen, this whole issue regarding youths and the judicial process. Can you just explain that and some of the experiences that you have gone through? We're live stream at the same time, so the key thing is that we've got this audience here, but we're reaching out to a wider community.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Well, actually, Silbon, the emotions are quite raw, and I say that because when we spoke last time, I was telling you about a case I had just finished. A 6-week murder trial at St. Albans Crown Court involving 5 young black teenagers who were all aged 15 years old, 14 at the age when they were accused of murdering a young man from Waltham Cross. Last Friday, at the Central Criminal Court, otherwise known as the Old Bailey, I had to go and deal with the sentence. And I was emotionally drained by the end of the day because reality dawned on me yet again. And I've been doing this job for 25 years. And I should say now that when I first started practicing, I was regularly defending adults. Most of the people I now represent as clients are under the age of 20. And they are all young men charged with the most serious offense on the criminal calendar, which is murder. And these young boys last week appeared at the Old Bailey for sentence, having been convicted by a jury at St. Albans Crown Court unanimously in 4 hours. It's the fastest verdict for murder I have ever seen or been involved in all of my practice. They appeared before a High Court judge, and I just want to paint the picture for people because often we read in the paper about what happens when someone gets stabbed, the police are involved, but no one actually talks about what happens in court. And I'm privileged to work in the environment that I do because I get to see the young boys on a daily basis, first of all visiting them in prison on remand. I get to see these boys each day at court before the court session starts. I get to see them after the session starts. I get to see these young boys when they are downstairs in the cells awaiting the verdict by 12 people who don't even know them. And last Friday, my client, convicted of murder at 15, received a sentence of 14 years in prison. So that's almost as long as he's been alive. And what I took from that when I went downstairs, and I'll come back to what happened in court, but when I went downstairs for the first time, in this young boy's face, I saw fear. He realized there and then, after I told him, because originally he thought that he was only liable to the minimum term of 12 years for a young person, that 14 years not only meant that the judge had increased the sentence from the minimum, but that he would have to serve all of it. Not half of it, but all of it. And even at the 14-year point, it's the parole board who decide whether he is eligible for release. And I saw fear in this boy's eyes.
Now, when you mentioned fear and when you check the background leading up to the crime, did these boys have or came across fearful?
No. These boys were associated loosely to a gang, although they weren't official gang members, but they had embraced that lifestyle, the lifestyle of selling weed, smoking weed, trying to make small gains by selling 10-pound bags of weed, and they enjoyed it because they were making money, as the previous speaker said. There was a thing of making money, protecting their postcode, and it was all fine until the reality of the criminal justice system entered their lives. And what these young boys don't understand is that once you enter the criminal justice system, charged with murder, you throw yourself at the mercy of the court, the police, the prosecution, and 12 people who don't even know you, who are sworn to give evidence, or give verdicts rather, according to the evidence that they hear. In the courtroom, it's a surreal moment where less than 10 feet apart or more, you have the victim's mother sitting in court, listening to the facts of how her son died. And on the other side of the courtroom, you have the mothers of the 5 boys listening to the facts of the case, and mitigation before their young ones are sentenced. I can't describe the atmosphere, but it's a surreal moment where these two families, where there are no winners, these lives are lost. And what the youngsters do not understand is that 14 years as a 15-year-old represents your formative years. They don't get to do their GCSEs in a normal environment. They don't get to do their exams. They don't get to go on Duke of Edinburgh schemes. They don't get to go on holiday. That's 14 birthdays, 14 Christmases. And one piece of mitigation by a fellow barrister colleague of mine summed it up when he said, "My lord, this young man starts his sentence as a boy and finishes it as a man." That's the reality of it. And I don't think people actually understand the implications of what they're doing, because for a split second of 2 minutes of making a decision to pull out that knife and to stab someone, he's ruined his life.
Now, it's interesting. There's also this bit about joint enterprise, and therefore you'll have some a bunch of boys being arrested.
Yes.
And could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Give us an example of where joint enterprise has really affected some boys' lives. Yeah.
Well, this case encapsulates everything about the criminal justice system and the law on joint enterprise. The pathologist in the case was able to determine that the 2 stab wounds, or 8 stab wounds in fact, that this young man received to his legs, only one of the stab wounds was fatal. That was a stab wound to the femoral artery. He determined that there were 2 knives present, and they must have been wielded by at least 2 people, but there were 5 people charged. They were charged because the prosecution could prove that they were there. Now, those 5 boys, of the 5, only 2 of them could have stabbed him, and only 1 of them could have inflicted the fatal injury. But all 5 were charged with murder. Why? Because of the law of joint enterprise. Each is responsible for the actions and the behaviors of the other. And this was a classic case where one of them, arguably my client, who it was determined was the person who murdered him, was supported by others who either held or encouraged him to stab the victim, and therefore they were all guilty of murder. And I'll tell you this, Silborn, when the verdict came back, less than 4 hours, one boy in particular, who was supposed to be the guy who introduced the group to the victim who died, screamed out when the jury said guilty of murder, because he knew that he did not wield the knife, but he was there.
And as a result of that, he was
convicted of murder and is now doing 12 years in prison.
Now, the question is this that many people will ask is, after they leave, okay, in your case and your experience, after they have left prison, some of these boys, what tend to happen after? Do you see them coming back?
Well, part of the work that I do also, apart from being a barrister, is mentoring.
Yes.
And each young black boy that I meet in custody, I take it upon myself, contrary to perhaps what many of my white counterparts would do, to offer mentorship to these young boys when they're released. Now, usually it goes one of 2 ways. Young men redeem themselves, take part in all the rehabilitative processes that are available to them in prison, and they fix up their life and they change, and they never look back. But for some of the young men who are obviously serving the longer sentences, they become entrenched in criminality. And what happens is they usually get released, and they then receive short sentences which build up, and they become institutionalized.
That's very interesting. Anyone from the audience would like to ask a question to Mr. Stephen Ekan Senior? One second.
I think this kind of joint enterprise is quite serious. A lot of parents know nothing about joint enterprise because they always said, "Oh, it wasn't my son that delivered the final stab, whatever." Yes. Right? And I think the parents nowadays need to be educated about the joint enterprise. Yes. I remember probably about 3-4 years ago, they had the same thing down by Victoria Station, where a set of boys and one girl stabbed somebody and killed them. Now, these boys, no, these kids were A-level students. They weren't, what you call it, oh, I don't really care. These were like A-level students, went down there for a fight, for a punch-up, right? One girl went and bought the knife, one person had to deliver the stab, and about what, 12? About 12 of them all got long sentences. And these are like A-level students. Yeah. So when people come to me and say, oh, well, these kids are whatever. No, they're not, right? Now, a lot of these parents will be crying. Because they say, well, my child went just for a punch-up, for a laugh, and they end up spending, because now they're getting a minimum term, minimum 12, minimum 14, minimum 16. So they're not saying, yeah, like you said, they're not going to spend half of it. But something has to be done about this joint enterprise, right? Because a child must realize, the parents got to be educated to tell the child, look, if you're there, you might be found guilty of the rest of them. So we need to educate the parents. And I'm a bit disappointed that we've got a park full of people, right? We've got a park full of people here, and I would say 95% is black people, but they wouldn't come here because it's not really whatever. But if something goes wrong with their son, they're the first one you see on TV crying, oh, there's nothing wrong with da-da-da-da. Right? And somehow we need to get the parents involved. And that is, to me, that is when I used to do mentoring, that's one of the thing, I could not get the parents involved. Right? Most of them, oh, well, you know what I mean, I've got to watch EastEnders, I can't come to your meeting, literally. Right? That parents has got, especially like school, parent evening. Black parents, a lot of black parents don't attend parents' evening. Right? But let that child get in trouble. They come, they want to fight the teacher. And that's a fact of life. You know what I mean? So we have to start with the parents, right? And the guy previously said, oh, let's take back the postcode. How can we do that? You know what I mean? Can't just go and just take things back, right? And as a black man, I actually disappointed with a lot of the parents. Seriously disappointed a lot of the parents because it doesn't concern them unless there's something wrong with a child. And I've got loads of experience, I'm not going to bore anybody anymore, but I've got loads of experience with black parents. Never see them until something goes wrong. And then they come to me, say, can you go and represent me? Why can't you represent yourself? It's your child. You know? That's all I've got to say, really. Yeah.
Well, can I thank you?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your honesty. Because until we start addressing the real issues and we're not embarrassed or ashamed to confront the real issues, there will be no solution. And everything you've said, sir, is true. I'm a school governor in 2 schools and they see the same issue. And, you know, until people actually want to go out there and understand the criminal justice system, understand what it means to be joint enterprise, because you're right, it doesn't affect people, it's not my business until it happens to you. And then you're the first one to start saying, well, my son didn't do it. What is this joint enterprise? I take it upon myself to go into schools, all the schools in South London, from primary school age, because that's where it starts, to try and educate the youngsters about what it means to be affiliated with a group, to walk with the wrong people. When something goes wrong, you are equally culpable for the friend who was carrying a knife. And I've done numerous murder cases over the last 10 years now. Numerous, and all the issues are the same. Joint enterprise. One stabber, usually boys walking around in a group, but you're all guilty. And I'll tell you, it's so bad now that Old Bailey judges, stuffy judges maybe people might call them, but Old Bailey judges are so concerned at the sentences that they are having to pass by law on young black men that they themselves are going out to school. They themselves are going out to school or holding seminars at the Old Bailey about the law of joint enterprise. So what an embarrassment and an indictment that we have parents who couldn't give a damn or don't want to learn about joint enterprise or are not interested in what's happening in this school. I was so concerned that I even trained to become a chair of an exclusion panel for schools because I recognized that there was a theme running where young black boys who were involved in criminality were also the same boys who'd been excluded from schools. And I wanted to understand, why are our boys being excluded from schools? Because one thing I'll tell you, a lot of the young black men that I've represented over 25 years, some of these boys are the brightest boys you'll ever meet. And it needs to stop. Because last Friday, last Friday in that courtroom, I was close to tears, even though I've been doing this job for so long, to watch 5 young black lives gone. 14 years in prison. I have a son of 14. And each day I go home to do my job, I look at them. I look at my sons and think, but for the grace of God, that could be my boys. But I'm involved and I'm relevant. And so I try and make it stop. So everything that you say, sir, is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
Wow. Stephen, it's always a pleasure and a bit emotional to hear you talk. I believe as parents, you hear two people talking about the issue having some parental guidance. And it's important that we have home education, the type of home education that will give our youngsters to understand the law. And what I've noticed for the past couple of years that we do not have this kind of education in our home systems. So what can we do to bring that type of awareness to be real in our communities? This is where now me and Silbun, Paul McKenzie, we decided to take this summit further. What can we do in terms to bring up solutions? As you can see, many of the young black kids are being sentenced to 12 years, 14 years, as the barrister said. But now the problem is, what can we do to reduce those kind of issues? And I think some of us parents who are here, it's not just about listening to this, but taking this on board. And I would like to hear some couple of questions. Have you got a question to give? You got a question? Yeah? We would like to hear the questions, of course.
Right. Thank you very much for your talk. It's very, very informative. I've actually studied my degrees in criminology. That's about 20 years ago. I initially wanted to work within the criminal justice system, but I opted out to be a teacher. Sorry. So I've been teaching for about 15 years now, and at primary level. But what I've noticed within the schools, as well as we say that parents are not there for the children, parents are not turning up for parents even, and so on and so forth, the teachers themselves, or some of the teachers, are really struggling with the young children. And I'm not saying predominantly black or predominantly white, I'm talking about in general. And although most of the teachers have a teaching degree, the teaching degree is out of a textbook. And learning or teaching those children real life skills and what it means to be a man and what it means to be, the teachers do not have those skills. Also, the parents are struggling to manage the children at home. And a lot of parents feel it's a bit of a taboo to mention it, to say, well, I need help. I need someone to come and help me with my son. You'll have single parent mothers who are struggling with their young black boys. And there's not many organizations, or they don't know of many organizations that they can go to ask for help. So it's really nice that we've got this forum here to maybe to educate parents more, even to educate teachers who are struggling with children in their class. When I take over a class in September, I let the children know that you are here with me for a year. And you spend more time with me in this school setting than you do with your parents. So you have no choice but to listen to me. I'm your parent within this school setting. So thank you very, very much for your information that you've given us. And it would be really nice for us to think of a way that we can start maybe training or teaching parents how to manage their young children growing up. Because there was a young boy that I taught when he was in year 3. And sadly, I think he was killed about 3-4 years ago. It was all on the news and everything in Hoxton. That boy was a dream pupil in school. There was no problems with him, but the minute he set out into the real world, into secondary, something went wrong. So thank you very much, and maybe somebody can enlighten us in another way.
Stephen, if you want to follow... wait a second. Stephen, if you continue.
Community education, a cooperative voluntary national service. Can't change me there. So from 1960, let me tell you, I am one of the founder members for Lambeth Country Show. The domino is there. We changed the domino cup into Light Lane Community Center. Ask any one of them if them know what is the English flag. It's still
Fantastic. Well, as you can see, a round of applause for the gentleman there. Well, as you can see, it's a very. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. 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 Well, Charles, thank you very much, sir. Yisrael, can we ask this gentleman to just thank you very much. Well, Stefan, does these things happen in court? You have outbursts like that?
I'm used to it. I mean, look, I'm used to. Even last Friday, when the families were sentenced, the fight developed between two mothers. One mother blaming the other mother for her son being convicted of murder. But the question was, where was she when her son was out there committing offences and also being part of a gang? And more importantly, when he was excluded from school, I saw the records. Where was she when all the meetings were called?
Right. So therefore, and this is the reason why this is so important. Someone asked me today, sorry, excuse me, Stefan, can you control what's at the front there? Someone said to me today, where are the youths for today? And I said, the youths are important, but the parents are also crucial to understand what is happening in their home. Today, later today, a young lady is going to be speaking about county lines and about social media and about how it's important for parents to understand Snapchat. People don't want to do Snapchat and to talk about these things. So, Stephen, what would you say are some of the key nuggets that people should look at in regards to pinpointing certain where they believe their children are going off rails?
Principally, you have to know what your child is doing. It's not always easy to do, I understand that, but you have to take an active involvement. The same way I chastise my own child. He wants to go somewhere. I want to know who, where, when. And I don't just allow them just to go off and do what they want to do. Yes. We have to become more involved as parents. We also have to understand and make our children understand the value of education. Yes. Because it's all very well when you're making a little bit of what I call chicken change, selling weed. Yes. But I've been involved in cases involving the people at the top end of the drugs line, the guys who live in Essex behind gated communities, the big players. Our children are not that. They're the little boys running around the streets peddling drugs, risking their lives because of postcodes ending up dead. So we need to educate our children. We need to spend time with our children. We need to show them new experiences. There are socio-economic factors, the loss of community centres. But one thing above all, we can argue with the government, we can blame the police, but we have to tackle this issue as a community ourselves.
And I remember you said this one time you're in court, and I don't know if you heard if you said it today when you said to the judge, "Look up there."
Yes.
Can you explain that? I don't know if you said it earlier, but you can say it again. Yes.
A case that I did at Croydon Crown Court, and I looked to the public gallery, and again in this case, through a 6-week murder trial for 5 boys, black boys. And every day for 6 weeks, I would look in the public gallery. And across 6 weeks, the public gallery was filled with women. Croydon Crown Court filled with women. And as I mitigated for a young boy, this was a young boy who had a full scholarship to my son's school at Whitgift in Croydon. He had a full scholarship. And he got himself involved in a gang. Aggravated burglary. An aggravated burglary of a home that belonged to a police officer of all people. He ended up getting 8 years. And I said to the judge, and I looked out in the public gallery, and I said, "Look, Your Honor, herein lies the problem. On sentence day, there's not one man in the public gallery. Where are the men? Even if his father's not there, where's his uncle? Where are the men? Women shouldn't be raising boys on their own. Even if they're lone parents, they should have the support of strong men, uncles, fathers, because a boy needs a man to raise him."
That's really powerful because, ladies and gentlemen, and on live streaming, we're going to have someone speaking today about what it is to be a man, what it is to be a father, who's sitting in the audience now. So listen, just one more thing. Anyone have any burning question? One burning question for... Okay, we'll take 2, yeah? Okay.
Hi, my name's Darren Gregg. I'm a mentor. I've worked with Mighty Men of Valor, Prince's Trust, Boris Twit Johnson, Twat, Dave Cameron. I've done a lot of work. I did the program called Black Boys, which I was offended by in the first place, but I still mentoring. Yeah. Now my question is this: you said about the schools, how we're underrepresented with regards to like males being responsible for their children. Now, as a father myself, when me and my daughter's mum became estranged, it was nearly impossible to see my child. Yeah, nearly impossible. Yeah. I have got a record, very small, one offence of drink drive, and one offence of, I think it's petty theft, some kind of theft. Yeah. I was literally about 24 years of age when it happened. Now, where you're saying that we're underrepresented, my question is this: as a man that's doing all he can to be there for his child, he's being labelled in so many different ways. What is the best way forward, one, and two, what support and advice is available for them?
Thank you.
It's a very good question you asked, Darren. And can I say this? And I'm not a politician, and I hate politics, and I echo your sentiments about Johnson and Cameron, because that's another topic. But let me say something which may be controversial. Where two people are not always able to stay together, I've got a message for the young women. Don't cut the man off if you have a child with him, and don't use the child as a pawn in the game, because the children grow up. They need to be mentored. Boys need their dads. And it's pointless. Oh, that's mine. It's pointless using the children as a pawn, because the only person who suffers ultimately is the child. So it may be controversial me saying that, but I have to say it because I've seen it. And it does. I always tell people in this situation, don't forget, children don't stay children. They grow up. And where they are perhaps hearing one side of a story, they'll be old enough one day to ask questions. So you do it to your own detriment. In answer to your question, sir, it's very difficult, because the system is designed that if you have a criminal record, or even if it's years ago, that it's always designed to use that as a stick to beat you with, so that you are hampered in what you're trying to do for the best efforts of your child. I'm happy to speak to you after to see if there's something that I can do, but it's very, very difficult.
Fantastic. I will take one more question from this lady.
Yeah, just something quickly. When you convict these boys and when they go down, what do they say would change their minds from taking the route that they've taken? What intervention, what are they missing out on? What would have changed their minds from what?
Very good question.
What they would got.
A lot of these young men are taken in, and I know there's going to be a talk about social media later on, but we as a community, and not just we as a community, but generally the world has a problem, because we live in a multimedia age, and unless we're monitoring what our children are watching or what they aspire to, they are so drawn by the love of quick money, materialism, and they don't value the things like working hard and building and an education. And so until we address those issues, we're always going to have the problem. And certainly talking to the young men that I've talked to over the last 25 years, the one thing that they say to me is they wish they could firstly turn back the clock of time, and secondly, that they had the courage and strength of their convictions and the support and mentorship of others to tell them that they're okay where they were at the time, that there was no need to join the gang or to want that extra bit of money, that to live for the here and now is not what it's about. Because ultimately, if you're making £400 or £500 a week dealing drugs, it's for a short season, because you're either going to end up with your family visiting you in the crematorium or the grave, or that you're going to end up incarcerated. It's short term. And until children start understanding that they need to build a legacy, build a future through education, through skills, through craft, or whatever the dreams that they had as youngsters, that they can achieve the things that they want through the gifts they're given, we're always going to have this problem.
Well, Stephen, I want to thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, and live streaming as well, this is a very crucial aspect. This is an area whereby it is not normally discussed.
No.
And when you came to the first one that was discussed, got lots of feedback about that. But it's good that you mentioned about where's the fathers, because Mr. Charles Kieran is going to come shortly to talk about what is it to be a man, what is it to be a father. And Mr. Kieran is like also one of my mentors. But before I go to Mr. Kieran, I'm going to have Mr. Paul Johnson. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Stephen Akinsanya. And thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you, sir. Yeah. We're going to take a break. But before we take a break, we just have a quick word from Mr. Paul Johnson. The mic? Where is it? Oh, the mic. Oh, sorry. Yeah, right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I've asked Mr. Johnson to just come on quickly because he's from this organization called Black and Gifted, and he said he wanted to say something, and I said, that's crucial. That means to say you got a solution as well. Please, Mr. Paul.
Okay, hi everyone. So I'm from the Black Gifted Network organization. We've got to stall a few shops down. Brand new organization, and our thing is to create a networking platform for the black community, whereby we'll be promoting black businesses and showcasing black talent all online in an engaging, interactive and informative way. We're going to be styling it around exhibitions, so as I say, you'll be informed about everything that's going on in the community, but in an engaging, interactive way. And in that way, we hope to inspire the black community to excel to better things. You know, you're talking about solutions. I'm not saying that's a solution, but at the same time, there's a lot of negative press, and we do have our challenges. But if we try and promote ourselves in a positive way, set good examples, you know, encourage mentors, people who have become successful as an entrepreneur, as a business, or just have some natural talent. If we promote that within the community, it will send positive messages which will resonate down to the people who are making the wrong decisions. And can I just say that as part of what we're trying to do, we're going to build an academy that provides the training, the funding and the support for people to launch their own black businesses and make something positive of themselves, because even the people who are going in the wrong direction have an idea in them, and we can help manifest that idea into a positive
I'm glad you
business.
said about people with their giftings and their talents. Drill music, whether people like it or not, is a gift and is a talent.
Yes.
Now, lots of young people have these fantastic gifts. How do you see your platform reaching out to these young people with these gifts, even though it may be going down the wrong route, but to get it a bit more exposed, but in a bit more positive way?
Well, as I say, it's a networking platform, and we're making it engaging, we're making it interactive, we're making it, you know, it's proper digitalized. Yes. So, you know, we're having competitions, we're having quizzes. For example, you've got knife crime and gun crime and gang crime as one of your themes today. Yes. We're going to have campaigns whereby we'll challenge the community to come up with a design, an anti-gang crime design or whatever it is. And part of what we have a brand, and part of what we do is deliver personalized products that people can purchase, styled around the black community and our colors and our flavors. So we're going to have a campaign, one of them being anti-gun, anti-crime, and people will be able to buy those products and in that way support the messages that we're trying to resonate throughout the community.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Paul Johnson. And how people can get hold of you?
Yeah, so we're online. We, if you're not here at the Jamaica Independence Day, if you're watching online, we've got www.blackgifted.com, which is the shop, the personalized shop, and then there's the www.blackgiftednetwork.org, which is, may I add, it's a non-for-profit organization, so the money we make gets reinvested into solutions within the black community. Those are the two ways that you can get in touch with us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much,
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Johnson. And we'll take a brief 10-minute break, and then we'll have Mr. Charles Kieran, who will be speaking about what is it to be a man and what is it to be a father. We're going to get an announcement to go out there, and we'll reconvene in 10 minutes' time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, it's going out live, so you can share it on your platform, on your Facebook Live, yes.